Anyways, Kubeflow 1.9 is expected to be released on July 8th, but we market this concerning topic because it's made on July 4th holiday. So probably we need to pay closer attention on these dates. What will guide us will probably be the March 4th for while we do the release team checkpoints. I think these are basically the changes in the release schedule. Next steps will be after merging, having this PR approve it and merge it. I'll share this with the overall community through the Kubeflow Discuss mailing list, and we'll work on other items like having all the distribution lists and the dependencies version matrix. As Andrew said, Spark operator is still waiting on repo transfers, so we marked as yellow flag for 1.9 release. For model registry, we I have an official statement from the model registry team where they are committing themselves on 1.9 to release alpha, maybe beta release of the model registry components. I think that's the best we can do for 1.9. And I think it's better because since it's a new component, we might need to gather more feedback from the community to see if we're going to the right path. So probably model registries should be released as alpha with no UI, which is planned for 1.10. I can share more details on that, but I don't want to steal more of the time of this meeting. Notebooks working group. We are still waiting on an official statement about Notebooks 2.0, but our feeling is that it probably won't make for 1.9 release. So we'll be working on 1.0 bug fixes or improvements. That latter one, we already have a tracker for that. So I believe right now we're in a good shape. I think that's it. I just want to reinforce that we are still under development phase and will be checkpoint at all the development status on March 4th to see how progress we made for 1.9 release. I think that's it. Stefano, do you have any other comments?
No, I think you covered it all. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Stefano. Back to you, Josh.
All right, 2 quiz questions for you and Stefano. One, what are you expecting the distributions? Which Kubernetes release are you expecting the distributions to be able to test with?
We are. I think we discussed that on past meetings. Our target release is 129, and we'll try to test also 127, 128. There's someone asking for 126, but yesterday on Manifest Working Group, we got an official statement that there won't be any problems by migrating from to 127 without passing through 126 support. Distributions didn't tell anything about their target Kubernetes release, but I'll make sure to have this question answered by all of them.
All right, now the second question is for Stefano. I'm going to put him on the spot because he's the product manager on this. Stefano, what is the top 1 feature that you're excited about in Kubeflow 1.9? What are you looking forward to?
That's very, very good question. Well, we have a few things pretty exciting, although still early between Notebooks 2.0 and Model Registry. I think it's pretty exciting seeing these projects getting traction, although we probably won't see, mature and stable versions of them. And then definitely, I'm very, very looking forward to the LLM API work. The training working group has been working on. So I think that will be pretty interesting to Kubeflow users.
Right. Okay. Well, just putting you on the spot there. Sorry about that. Okay.
Okay.
One thing that I'm looking forward to, and I'm hoping that we get some output from the model registry work, is the MLMD and some of the kind of multi-user functionality that might come about from, I think there was some talk about some menu upgrades and some other things that were kind of correlated in that space, but I'd really like, I know there's a lot of operational stuff that you talked about, Stefano. I know that there is some lower level, functional stuff that you discussed, the LLM API and some of that other, but I think there's some lower level stuff on the operational stuff, whether it's the rootless, the MLMD, the multi-user, those things, I think would be really interesting if we make some progress on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a lot of plumbing work that will be going on in this release, including also on the pipeline side, including the long-standing min IO dependency. We're looking into finally merging back the Tecton repository into the main pipelines repository. Addressing CVEs and the process around that. So yeah, a lot of very important and critical infrastructure and plumbing work that will definitely mature and stabilize the platform.
Well, I look forward to seeing how those P0s and P1s shape up. Yes, who is that? Ramesh, go ahead. I can't hear him. I can't hear you. Can other people?
Nope.
Nope.
I can't hear you, Ramesh. All right, we'll circle back to Ramesh if he's got an audio. Still no here. Okay, we didn't get this on the recording. We don't have, this is the Kubeflow meeting for January 30th. It's governed by the Kubeflow Code of Conduct, and it is being recorded. Sorry, I missed that earlier. Any update on 1.8.1? Is there anyone that can give an update on that?
I'll just give one thing for the notebooks. I found a number of pretty serious issues have been raised from the 1.8 version of the notebooks controller that are definitely breaking in some people's clusters. I can paste them in, but yeah. So I mean, even if 1.8.1, I mean, I don't know what the actual timeline is for that, but it would probably be worth fixing those and then releasing a 1.8.1. I think I will probably do that either way for the notebooks, just because so that people don't have those bugs, obviously. And if we don't do it in 1.8.1, we might do 1.8.2. I know that that's not for Kubeflow overall, but we could just release that, as a notebook thing.
Are those bugs that were introduced in 1.8 or just found in after 1.8?
They were definitely introduced. I've identified the pull requests that introduced all of them.
Okay.
They're all caused by the same kind of bug, which is attempting to access a part of a spec that doesn't exist. But in some Python code, usually.
We got a hand up. Who is that?
Yeah, hi, this is Matteo. I'm trying to stand in as the voice for Ramesh, that he's having some troubles earlier. One of the things that you mentioned, Josh, over there, is that for the model registry, what we're aiming for 1.9, as Ricardo mentioned earlier, is to release it as alpha and to basically sort of like put to the pieces the architecture that we discussed over there during the previous calls. So for that, is not in this phase for the MLMD multi-tenancy to be tackled, because that is something that was still in the open. I think that actually the way that we are going represents an opportunity for us as a group to really sort of like have the first iteration of what we having almost concrete in the hand and give it in the hand of the user so that we can start some collective work over there in the community. As you correctly pointed out as well, this is something that if we can get, I think it would help us as well achieve some of the, what was it, the points that were in the tracker, something like have customer zeros tested out. So this is, I want to be sort of like give a good representation about what we are aiming for the one.net over there, and what is the target for them on the registry. Of course, I think this is also something that I think it will help the discussion over that more lower level operational aspect that I think is what can be discussed with as well DSPs. Hope this could give a good representation of more concrete at the point that we were talking earlier. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very good point. I think we have to dive into this in more detail. I think this meeting, we can bring updates, but this is why I keep pushing for the working group data meeting to get set up, is to dive into some of this stuff in more detail and hash it out. And I think the model registry and others need more time, especially in this planning phase for those type of discussions. Is Ramesh back? Any further comments on what Matteo brought up?
Yep. Hey, Josh, this is Dheeraj. Yeah, I'll just add, specifically, we had in the proposal, mentioned that we wanted to do it in two phases, where in the first phase, we get the architecture right and have all the, deployments in the right places and stuff, and address, the issue with accessing MLMD from multiple namespaces and so on. And in the second phase, we were, thinking of rewriting MLMD itself in Go and adding support for RBAC and multi-tenancy from the ground up. But what we're thinking right now is we're going to have to push phase 2 further, down the roadmap to try and get, more feedback from the community about the architecture, see if there are any other ideas that, we can come up with about solving some of those multi-tenancy requirements and stuff. And see how much or what kind of features we want to add to the MLMD rewrite and stuff. So that's
a quick question there. Is someone from Google able to comment on if this is like a thing you might donate to the project, like the MLMD repo as well? I mean, just while we were talking about that.
Well, we have tried to interface with them. We haven't had much luck though, because we were told that it's in maintenance. But yeah, I'll let Google speak for itself.
Hey,
Is anyone-
just want to give some context about MMD. So MMD is part of the TFX project. So every time TFX is released, MMD is part of it. Regarding whether to donate or not, I actually have no visibility to it. You can try reaching out to the owner of MMD to see what is their opinions about that. Yeah, and then we can follow up on that.
Are the owners of the MLMD project easily found? James, do you think?
Yeah, so the owner of MMD repo replying to the GitHub issue on the MMD repo. So her name is T Xin Ran. So basically she's called Sherry, but her GitHub handle is TXINRAN. So yeah, you can find her easily by looking at some recent issues.
Perfect. Thank you for that help and the guidance.
Yeah, so it's exactly for this kind of discussions and stuff that we figured we would have in the community, that we don't want to immediately jump into like, oh, we need to rewrite MLMD and stuff, right, before we have considered all the other options. So that's why we're saying, even though in the proposal we kind of put that option earlier in the timeline, we're thinking we're going to hold off on that uh, for now. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. My biggest two concerns is I think that when people can see functionality, they're more likely to jump in and provide support. And, I think the sooner realistic that we can have a phase 1 or phase 2 put together, the better off we'll do. Andre?
Just quickly, so I remember like last time we discussed that probably you're gonna attend the Kubeflow pipelines call and ask about the potential migration in the future. I'm just like wondering if you have any updates on this front from the Kubeflow pipelines team.
Question. What migration are you
I think I'm
referring to?
asking about the potential usage of model registry for Kubeflow pipelines artifacts rather than using MLMD in the future.
I think that was a proposal coming from the model registry team. So I think from the design doc of the model registry project, there are two phases. The first phase is to use the current MLMD project to support some basic functionality of model registry. And then the second one is to implement sort of like the Golang based Kubernetes native MLMD alternative. So that is not a proposal from me, but we discussed that in the previous Q4 pipelines meeting. So I think the plan sounds good to me, so they can move forward. And then once they have more solid implementation of the MLMD with namespace isolation, then we can talk about how can Q4 pipeline migrate to there.
I see. So it's more about the second stage, right, James? When we're speaking about the migration, right, and the implementation of Golang operator, right?
Right. That's what I read from the design doc, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So so all we're saying right now is I think our initial assessment of how much work was involved, and whether we had considered all the other options was kind of aggressive in the proposal about when we would be able to start phase 2. So that's all we are saying, that for 1.9 we'll do phase 1, and then see what discussions with the community, and any other options like having Google donate MLMD, what fruits that bears.
Sure, I understand that. Like, I think currently the options are pretty open-ended, so we can have more discussion to figure out the actual plan.
Exactly.
Right. So talk to people and also see what is the future of MLMD, so we can make a further decision. At the moment, I think in phase 1, model registry, you guys are planning to use MLMD for now, right? So in that case, you can like try to make the model registry runnable using MLMD in the Kubeflow environment. So and then we can like kind of discuss the next step after that.
Yeah, that's our plan.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, let's keep going. I'm going to move on to the steering committee elections. We have a lot to cover. And again, whoever's been running this meeting never keeps it on calendar, so keeps it on schedule. So we're going to crack the whip. Amber, are you here today?
I am.
All right. Can you give us an update, please, in an appropriate amount of time on the steering committee elections?
Sure. So those ended yesterday at noon Pacific. And so our 3 new Kubeflow steering committee members will be Terry, Andre, and Janu. And there's an email sent to Kubeflow Discuss about that. We had 3 seats that were running for this year for, I believe, a 2-year term. The other 2 seats will turn over next year. We had 59 eligible voters, of which 43 folks cast their vote. So that's a 73% turnout rate, which is very high for community elections. And with that, we definitely want to thank all of the participants, all 6. Kimonos and Julius and Matthew, thank you also for, running in this election. And we're looking forward to seeing where we go from here. And Josh, I'll put that in the notes. You don't have to worry about trying to type it. I'll drop everything in there. So if you want to see more of the details, you can jump over to Kubeflow Discuss. I'll also post them in the elections channel and in general here in just a few minutes. And we're working on a blog post. And so those of you who ran, those of you who are now sitting in those seats, if you want to give me a quote, please send me a quote over by the end of the day, so I can incorporate it into the blog and we can get that blog post out. So again, thanks everybody. And we learned a lot from this, and we'll look forward to the next. Now I owe the new steering committee folks a couple ideas for the talk elections or appointments and all that. I've got that paperwork ready, so I will send that over to you all by the end of the week.
Thank you for that update, Amber, and congratulations to everyone who ran and has contributed so much to the community, and to those that won. Welcome to the steering committee. Those that did not, there are other positions if you're looking to take. I know all of you are in kind of responsible positions in the community, but there are other positions showing up, especially the TOC coming up. So I think everyone is quite qualified for those positions as well. Amber, I wanted to ask a couple questions. How much time did it take for you to run all these elections? Was this do you have any idea? Was this a few hours a week, or what was the kind of the tax on this on you?
So it takes well, now that it's all laid out and we've got all the paperwork and we can just kind of cookie cutter it, it would probably take somebody about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours some weeks, depending on how many people were voting, because as you saw, not everybody includes a public email address or an email address that they, even want out there. And so of the 59 folks, we weren't able to confirm 3 of the eligible voters, which is still a good turnout. And so it took a while to track down that. But what I'm going to do is everything that we sent out, every email, every issue that we opened, all of that, I'm just going to stick it in a document. I'll probably do it under the elections folder, and it's just a template of how to run that. And I'm happy to show anyone else who wants to know how to do it, to do it. But yeah, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours a week. Once every, now that everything is in place. It took a little bit longer because it was new and we had to type everything up and all that. But now that we'll have a templated version, it won't take people very long to do it.
Yeah, okay, great. And that went on for what, 10 weeks?
Yeah, and the reason that it took a little longer this time is, as you all were aware, getting confirmation from folks to make sure we're on the right track, and this is how we wanted to do it, and like all of that. And then once we got the confirmation, we had some holidays to work around and things like that. When we roll into next year for those other 2 seats, because there's going to be 5 of you on the steering committee, correct, Josh? You, James, and then the 3 new people. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So next year we'll run the election for the other 2 seats. And so we'll start that earlier. So we can start it in October and finish it before the end of December. So we'll be able to do that. We'll be able to tighten the timeline up. So, now that everybody knows what to expect. So.
And James Wu, do you have any comments, or would you like to say anything before we move on from the steering committee?
Yeah, sure. I just want to welcome the 3 new members to the committee. I think maybe I speak for Josh as well, but we are really glad that we are able to add new, community leadership to this growing project. So again, so welcome and looking forward to working with all of you.
Right, thanks, James. Okay, any questions on, oh, Andre raised his hand. Go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, maybe I just want to say a huge thank you to you, Amber and David, because I think it was the first time for the community to have such events, and I think you did an amazing job to make this happening. So we really need to appreciate all of your hard work during all this elections process and how you coordinate the whole community to send their votes. So amazing work from you folks.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, Amber, great logistical help. We need to find some recognition for you on this, beyond this. But I also I really applaud Google's vision. I mean, we all would not have been able to sustain this community without Google's initial, contribution, but also ongoing contributions to the community and support by so many people from Google. So, I know that we sometimes give the Google representatives, a lot of questions. But in reality, I think that they get a lot of questions because they get a lot done. So I'm really looking forward to having even more people on the steering committee. I know James is too, to help grow the community and the diversity of thought to where we should go and what we should do. That said, everybody that's contributed to the community, I see my role as more of a facilitator, and the folks that have really done the work are, again, the people at the beginning layers of the community. So let's keep moving on unless anybody has questions about the steering committee. Any questions about the steering committee election?
I guess you guys need to meet and vote on some stuff. Other than
We
that.
do. There's a lot of things that's bubbling up, and I agree, Matthew. Some of those is what I'm trying to get to here. The other piece is I would like to see if we could get the TOC put together fairly quick. The Technical Oversight Committee. What am I saying? And would like to see if we could get that, maybe by the end of March. Maybe that's too aggressive, Amber. I know that you suggested we need someone else to run that. But I guess that would be a request. If there's anybody that feels like they might want to run the next round of elections, it would be really helpful. I think we do need the TOC in place fairly quickly.
Yeah, and I can help. I just want to help others kind of take a more active role. And it's not hard now that wasn't hard before, but it won't be as time consuming, and I can walk everybody through all the different phases of it, and we can make it quicker. And like I said, I'll template everything out. And Josh, I have some documentation for the new steering committee on just a basic setup of the talk and appointing versus voting for the first group and that kind of stuff. So I'll send that over to you all.
Makes sense. Okay. All right, Matthew, you have some items on here. The Zoom 1Password. Is there?
Well, I just wanted to give everyone an update because it's just an important community update that we need to migrate to the community Zoom, and everyone who's a working group lead will have access to it as long as their meetings don't happen at the same time, because you can only have one at the same time. But if you end up needing to have 2 working group meetings at the same time, we can discuss with the CNCF about getting another account. But so what we've done as a temporary measure is we're testing out everything on the Notebooks working group. So we've got the Notebooks working group meetings are now hosted on the CNCF Zoom via the CNCF Zoom host account, which I accidentally joined with at the beginning of this meeting. Sorry about that. But then, so the way that it will work is that the host will be given access to the Zoom account through 1Password. And so I've added Josh, James, and Kimonos so far to the 1Password. And as we need more people to have access to the account, we'll add more people. It is sponsored by 1Password, so it's all free. We can add literally 1,000 members if we needed to. It's free. like for Infinite. For reference, the admins are myself, Josh, and James Wu right now.
But can we use the Zoom for other working group meetings?
Yeah, exactly. But I absolutely, and and that's the plan. At least if you want to use it. So the goal would be to test it out on the notebooks and the community one first, just so that we can work out all the kinks, and then everyone else will get access as soon as they need it. Yeah.
And do we have any automation for the recordings? Because like you have to manually do it right now, right?
Yeah, so now that everyone's on the same account, I can make some scripts to make it a bit easier. But the current approach is that it will be automatically recorded. But please, if you happen to be on the maintainers list, please don't share the recording links that Zoom sends to the maintainers list, just because those aren't meant to be public. We want to cut them down and upload them to YouTube. So another thing as well is that now that we've got the 1Password, we can actually, not everyone on the 1Password needs to have access to everything, but like we can add the Kubeflow Zoom account, Kubeflow YouTube account, for example, so that I can upload the videos there instead of on the other thing. Although there is one issue with Google accounts, which is that when lots of people are logging into them from all around the world, they tend to freak out and require phone verification. So we might need to set up like maybe like a Google Voice or something that is the phone owner of it, so that we can have multiple people have access to it. Yep. Other than that, so I just wanted to give an update there. So for that, it's just the next steps there are, Josh, you and I should work together to, once we've tested out the notebooks one, maybe in 2 weeks, will have worked out the kinks. You and I can work out how to migrate. So what you'll have to do, Josh, is you're already in the 1Password, so you have the account. You can just add it as a secondary account on your Zoom, and then we just need to make sure that only one of us tries to use it to join the meeting at the same time. And then that person becomes the host.
Okay.
Or the way it's set up is on the new meetings, which we need to create, obviously we need to update the calendar. The new meetings, the way they work are that no one can join more than 10 minutes before the schedule, just to prevent the craziness that sometimes happens now. And then the meeting starts recording immediately. And then you obviously, if a host is there, they can stop and start the recording to make it easier to upload to YouTube later, but they don't have to. So even if the host doesn't show up for some reason, it will still work.
So for the end users and the regular folks on the call here, I think this means that the links to join the calls are going to change. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And so that means all the invites will change. Likely those links will be in the invites. And I guess when we make this changeover, will these invites automatically be sent out to all the users that have them and updated, or what will
Yeah,
happen?
so it will be done through so it depends on how people are clicking the link to join. If they've saved it as a bookmark, they'll obviously need to go and update it. If they're clicking on the link every time through the Google Calendar, which is what I think most people are doing, it should just update automatically as long as you are still part of the Kubeflow Discuss Google group.
So in February or first half of February, we'll figure this out for the notebooks team, and then we'll start to
Well, we've already done it for notebooks, but we'll plan to do the migration sometime in February for this meeting.
Okay. So.
Yep. Okay, cool. And then the
Yeah.
next thing there, does anyone else want to say anything or ask anything about that? So yeah, the answer is if you're a working group lead, you will have access as well. But just give us until March maybe. Okay. Anyone got anything? No? Okay. The other one, I just wanted to raise this just because it's more of it's like a logistics thing, is I'm not actually proposing or changing anything about the real world here. I'm just making the working group definitions reflect reality. There's 1 or 2 people who've said that they want to be added as leads to various groups. We can potentially do that in a separate PR, just because I don't want to get that all conflated with the cleanup of existing stuff. But we can add, I mean, Julius, I can probably just add, assuming the other manifest leads agree. But that was the only, so these are just the changes here. It's just updating it on the website, not the website, the community GitHub repo to reflect reality, which is that those 4 groups are inactive. The meeting definitions were mostly incorrect, so I've just removed them. Because their source of truth is the calendar anyway. Some of the leads are no longer part of the project, so we've removed those. Again, each group can, I haven't done any adding of people, just so, because under the assumption that each group can add their own, whatever the current active members are, but people who are like definitely not members anymore I've removed. And then the sub-projects, well, this is also a little bit, this is more just because Notebooks was getting a bit out of hand to try and maintain this because there's so many components under the folder. So I just linked to the components folder directly rather than having one for each one. But that's the only changes here. It's a pretty simple change, but that's just something to be aware of. The more important one is the next. Has anyone got any comments on that before we move on? Before I just move on to the website one, which I think is more
Yes, I
important.
have a few concerns with it, Matthew. Like I already like comment on this PR, and I
Yep.
don't know if you want to like discuss this right now. But like I think we need to follow the process of retirement for the working groups, to even like make them inactive. To be honest.
I mean, they are inactive though. It's like, I mean, if they were currently active, it would make sense. But some of these, neither of those have existed. The 2 working groups have existed for many years.
So I guess like this PR, first of all, touching the working group soaring, right? So I'm not sure if it is correct to mark this working group as inactive.
They
Even
definitely don't exist anymore though. They exist in their own organization, the serving working group.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like as I said before, I think like we still kind of under discussion what the case or future would be, and whether and as Yuan, I think if I remember correctly, Dan commented on this PR that most of the people coming to case of meetings through this working group. So even that case
Are you
of
sure? Because the
yes, I mean,
meetings, there is no meetings on our calendar anymore for CASO.
But we've been using that regularly, like bi-weekly.
Are you sure that you're not using your own calendar? Because I think you are. But I'm not saying
You
to
can
remove you
double-check.
from the website. The website will still have your calendar.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
can
think-
double check, but yeah.
Yeah, this
But
doesn't
we-
affect the calendar at all. This only affects the this only affects literally the automatically generated README files in the community folder, which just right now don't reflect reality, which is confusing to new users.
I think in general, like, yeah, go ahead, Jan, sorry. Go ahead. So my only concern here, I think we should follow the retirement process. Like, I guess like we don't have an option to just say that this working group is inactive, right? Today.
Well, both of them have actually indirectly followed the retirement process anyway, which is mainly the only thing that they didn't do was formally announce that they were retiring. In terms of all the other requirements, they do meet them. Like have their projects either archived or moved to separate repos, which is orgs, which is actually the case for both deployment and serving.
I just believe I mean, this is my perspective, but I think for serving, we should postpone this, action to make this inactive until we find like the agreement from KServer folks moving forward.
Well, it's not, when I say inactive, it's like that working group doesn't exist anymore because it exists in its own organization. It actually is in it. They actually have a working group or whatever they call it in their own organization.
But I guess, like as I said, like we still don't know the final consensus around whether KServe will be part of Kubeflow in the future, right?
That's inactive. It doesn't mean we're not killing it. It's like it could reactivate.
So the thing is, like as I said, like we don't have a process of making working group inactive, right? I mean, that if you take a look at the working group government structure, right, and the community documentation, we don't have anything else speaking about inactivity or working group, right?
Anyway, I'll tell you the reason why I'm doing this. It's mostly because we link to these things on the website, and it's always a bad experience when a user finds Kubeflow, goes to the working group information, clicks on it, and then sees a working group that looks like it hasn't done anything for 3 years, because it hasn't. But maybe there is an active project under it just it's moved somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it is not correct to say that working group serving doesn't do anything else for the last couple of years, right?
Well, in some sense, it is correct because that working group hasn't existed for a couple of years.
I think we all
Like
need
it
to
ceased.
revisit
Yeah.
the process to make sure like we measure the inactivity correctly before removing any working groups. So for example, in Argo project, whenever we remove any members, we all need to check dev stats, which is available in CNCF dashboard, to make sure they don't have any contributions within the past year. That's one of the measures. So we all probably need something like that for Kubeflow as well.
So there is actually already requirements, which is that you have to meet at least once every month, I think, and that's on the original working group proposal when that was created. Neither of those groups meet that requirement.
No,
But you are correct.
So
Sorry?
as I said, the meeting that the Circle group is handling, despite on how they name their own components, it's part of the official working group meetings they had before when KServe was named as KF Serving, right?
No, they're using their own calendar now.
I don't think it's true, Matthew. Like,
I made it on the website. I definitely linked their calendar on the website. It exists on the Linux Foundation's calendar thing. Like you can see it here if you want to see it, but I'll show you. Like definitely our calendar does not store their thing. Anyway, this is just I don't want to belate this too much. I'm happy to discuss it more on the issue. It's probably better to discuss on the issue anyway.
My final thought on this. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think this needs a bit more discussion before getting to it. And one, like my suggestion would be like there should be process for each and everything, right? So that we keep that consistent process for our future decisions as well.
Yeah, and there is a process if the working group. It's just like it's more like in this case the working group just technically. It's not even like if we did follow the process exactly, it just would be a bit weird. It'd be like announcing the death of someone who died 10 years ago. It's a bit strange. Like it's anyway, just saying. Okay, so that community calendar, if you see there, the one that they use, there's two of them on our website, which is the Kubeflow community one and the KServe community one, which is actually completely separate.
But besides the calendar, the Google Docs for meeting notes and the Slack channels are all pretty active.
That's fine. That's great. I understand. None of those are going away. This is about purely the working group because it's a separate project now. It's just a housekeeping issue. Like this is not like I'm not saying that KServe doesn't exist. I'm just saying that the KF serving working group doesn't exist.
But we don't have KF serving working group. We have serving working group, and under the serving,
it still says KF serving in there and stuff like that.
No, they maintain the KF serving component, but the problem is the KF serving was migrating to the new repo, right? Transfer it, right? So if you follow this link, it's just going to redirect to KServe right now. I mean, I think we just, I mean, I would say from my perspective, we just should postpone this kind of inactivity label, like what I think, and just to get a final decision from KServe community.
Also, that's for the serving. The deployment one is like definitely inactive.
Yeah, so maybe we should do the retirement process for each of them, right, Matthew? That would be better. What do you think?
I mean, it just may send a strange message to the community because it's a bit confusing. It's like, it's not that it's retiring, it's that one just doesn't exist anymore and it's just over here now.
I understand, but what is the problem of making this working group like retire, right? What is the problem with...
I mean, you can. All I'm saying is that the only thing that hasn't been done from the retirement list is sending an email to Kubeflow discuss, which is just a bit weird.
No, I think it's the right thing to do, right? Because like I think we should send an email to Kubeflow discuss to say, hey, we're going to retire the working group deployment and working group. Sorry, what is the next one?
Yeah, we definitely should formally announce and properly remove people. Like you can't just like send a PR and merge it. That will remove everybody who were active members of the community.
No, that doesn't remove anyone's member permissions. It does not remove anyone's member permissions. That's a whole separate thing we have to do later.
So from my
Can
perspective, yeah, go ahead.
take it separately, and I think this needs more discussion. And in general, like what I feel, I really like to know this from the community as well. Like uh, we need to have particularly about such important process. We need to have discussion first, and then decide what to do next, right? Rather than um, uh, creating something and then discuss later. Like I think that just a suggestion from my side.
I think usually that doesn't work. The reason is that there's almost no one willing to do any of the actual logistic works in this project. So normally the best place to discuss it is in the PRs that are trying to do specific things. Like this is just purely for helping new users. This doesn't affect anyone really. This only affects new users who are looking through the information on the repos. It's just that's all it is. There's no changes to anyone's permissions. There's nothing like that. It's the documentation update effectively. I agree. If there are suggestions about better ways to document it, let's make those on the issue. Anyway, I really want to get to the next issue, which is much, much more important than this, which is the updating of the installing Kubeflow page. And the reason it's more important is because it affects new users every day. Every day people come to Kubeflow and either think that their platform isn't supported anymore or just have a bad experience. And right now the main bad experience is that they adopt an inactive distribution, which is Amazon, Kubeflow and AWS. So there's two PRs here, one which just moves them to the legacy section, and the other which updates the page styling to warn users that the words Kubeflow on platform name does not mean that it's the only option for that platform, so that they don't think that Kubeflow no longer supports AWS. It's just that distribution doesn't exist. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight those again. Obviously, lots of people have their ideas about it. It's just like, I understand that some people say we should wait until the exact minute 6 months is up, but
Matthew, per my comment on the issue there is that I'm not sure that we have made a community policy about legacy definition. And if this is the way that we're going to go about it, it's fine. I'm trying to figure out where this actually would fit. And maybe we're documenting policy just on the website, but I don't think that as a community, we've said 6 months, no action, you become legacy. I don't think that we've had that kind of.
Exactly, I agree, and actually, I don't think that's a good definition either. I think the better definition is actually the statements from the people maintaining the platform. So, like, for example, we moved the Ericto one when the Ericto company said we're no longer maintaining this. You know what I mean? Like that's, and similarly here, Amazon has publicly said we're not maintaining this anymore.
So, but I'm not sure that's what the website update says.
The second website does say that, but I mean, we can remove the 6 months, I guess. The 6 months was just in there as like a catch-all from the original when we made the legacy section. But
right,
I agree.
So you get my point, right?
Oh, I fully understand. I just like that's almost, but yeah, again, the purpose of what I'm doing here is like, I don't really mind how we get to the end result, but the end result needs to be that users know that Amazon is not supported anymore. That not the Amazon platform, but that distribution.
Again, it's tied to the problem that we discussed last week about the naming, right? And
and that's a much harder problem to solve. Like the more short-term problem is that users are coming to the website, looking down the list of distributions, going down the list and getting and then giving up because they don't realize that it's not. They think, oh, that's not supported because it hasn't been updated.
Well, this second one seems. I don't know if we have to do the first one right away, but the second one seems like all we're adding here. Let me get back to where we were.
This one's just a styling update and some wording warnings.
Yeah, so this one just, let me see if I can make this bigger. Maybe I can't.
You can click on the image.
I think this is just added, yeah, it doesn't want to.
You can zoom that one. You can zoom it, zoom.
Yeah, it's not being super reactive. Is just this distribution name is what
Yeah,
you're
so
at.
it changes 3 things about this page. It changes it makes a blue heading for the active distributions and a gray heading for the inactive on those
So-
tables, just like a styling.
So this is
It-
blue and this is gray.
That's one of the main differences, just so that it's a visual separation. Another
Right.
change is the wording of it adds that warning that says distribution names. And again, I'm
As
happy
a
to discuss.
gray haired person, I'm not sure I like that gray, but go ahead.
So there's three changes. If you roll up, so the section that's called package distributions of Kubeflow has a new warning which says distribution names.
Yes,
Which is
this
again,
one.
I'm happy to discuss the wording here. This is fine. I just want this to be on here so that users understand this.
Yeah, so some distributions have names like Kubeflow on platform. Please note that they are not the official installation method for Kubeflow on that platform. It's simply a name of a distribution.
That is why I suggested to split it, and I understand we need to find a consensus from all of the public cloud providers, but to split it between the distribution maintained by cloud provider owner and the cloud agnostic maybe distribution, we can find a better naming around this, right? So that would solve all the problems, right, Matthew? Because we will split this kind of like the public cloud level.
Maybe. But that might not reflect reality though. Like these distributions are sometimes maintained by single people at these companies, and they're not really official from that company.
Why? Like, why we cannot talk to?
That
Like,
is not true, right, Matthew? I'm saying,
Some,
how can you do that?
not all, some.
but what is the example when like the people maintaining from one of the public cloud provider, but it's not an official maintenance from this company?
Again, the only wording issue here that I've got is like official, as in I'm meaning official from the Kubeflow project. Like that's the thing that like so I agree that the wording could be better, and that's what I want a suggestion as to how to make that indicated, because it's like there is no official from Kubeflow's perspective Amazon distribution. There might be an official from Amazon's perspective, not well, they're not anymore, but they don't exist anymore. But like maybe Google's perspective. But it's what I'm trying to indicate to the user is that Kubeflow as a project, the open source project, isn't making a statement by calling it Kubeflow on Amazon or Kubeflow on GCP.
That is why I said, like, if we split this table to 2, the first one doesn't need to have a name, because you just have like this company supporting you on their platform, where it is like, you know, Nutanix, IBM Cloud, AWS, or GCP, right? Like it's just official support from the
What's the
cloud.
actual like defining that is very hard. What is the actual definition there?
Official support from X company, right? On AWS, or official support from GCP on Google, or from Google on Google Cloud. I don't know, something like that. Like, I mean, we can speak.
That's yeah. I feel like that you might struggle to get all the vendors to agree, and then suddenly we're in a situation where do we put a vendor who doesn't want to agree to that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
like,
this is just
the issue is that they are distributions. Like the best solution, absolutely, I agree, is renaming the distributions, but that can take time. So that's why I think the short-term solution is we need to just find a wording here that's acceptable to warn users. Because again, this is affecting hundreds of new people every day.
Cautious about the word official, only maybe an alternative, but I think this is directionally correct. And Matthew, you've done a great job of bringing this up and trying to get this across the finish line.
And also, yeah, so I changed the wording also about on that warning above the table, which says rather than saying in the last 6 months, it just says that is actively maintained by their respective maintainers, currently maintained by their active respective.
Currently maintained, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little cautious of this official.
I agree the word official is bad there. I want to know what people suggest.
Yeah, maybe only.
Maybe Kubeflow endorsed. Maybe Kubeflow endorsed.
Yeah.
So maybe you can sorry, Josh. Maybe we can start an issue for this to ask AWS, GCP, IBM Cloud, Azure, Nutanix,
I mean,
canonical.
that's a separate discussion though. Like, I think we should still put the warning on the page and update the heading colors to blue and gray. And update the wordings above the table. Like, I think that's still worth it. Like, so the last one says the legacy distributions have not had a release in the last 6 months, or whose maintainers have indicated they are no longer actively maintaining.
I think you're a colorist, right? You're making gray
Gray
bad.
is commonly associated with decline. I'm sorry to say that.
Oh, I could
I
make
have
some.
gray hair as well, man. Like, I mean, my photo doesn't show it, but I've got more gray hair than I used to.
Okay. How do we move this along? We've had this discussion a lot. You know, I don't know. We've got the new steering committee here, whatever. We should make a decision. I think, Matthew, your work here is correct. It is confusing. It isn't fair to everyone else, and AWS being such a major part of the cloud space, we should address this.
That's the AWS issue. The other issue is just the naming issue. But yeah. Like the minimum I want to do, even if we don't move Amazon to legacy, is put a warning on the distribution names. But again, I think that warning is not perfect. It needs to be worded better. But
I think it's, yeah, just last thing. I agree the naming is wrong here, and I think we should ask distributions to rename it, like similar to Kubernetes, right? We don't have distributions called Kubernetes on X, right? They
yeah,
always
that's actually against the trademark rules for both Kubeflow and Kubernetes.
Yeah, so they always like have a name like EKS or GKE, right? Or AKS, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. But I think that will take so much time to do that it's worth putting a bit of Band-Aid on the solution to begin with.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the Band-Aids here. And I do think there's a larger piece, Andre, but you know, trying to get all the distributions to agree.
Like, and since now the steering committee exists, you guys can vote on new rules for the trademark. You have trademark authority. So like this is something that you guys should, and I hope you address. But I think starting with the, like, you know, for the 100 new people who see Kubeflow today, who've never seen it before, and they use Amazon, because most do, when they come to the website, they're going to come to that distribution, try it, realize that it either doesn't work because it's not supported anymore, or run into a problem and not be able to get help. And then they're going to think Kubeflow just doesn't work on Amazon.
So I'm thinking for a new user, like what should we hide the ones that are not supported? Is that what we are trying to say? Like they don't want to see something like a distribution which didn't have release in the last one.
So we've kind of already done that, right? So we've moved anyone which is, I think that it's not about the 6 months thing. The 6 months was just there because it had to be something. But like this is just moving. This is a very basic PR, this one. But the image that you were showing before, right? There's two lists. We already have those 2 lists on the website. The only difference is that in the styling update is it just changes the colors and the wording, which again, I'm happy for people to discuss that. I just want to make sure that new users have, so that we already have active and legacy. That's already on the website. This is making no changes to the structure. This is only changing some words.
I'm trying to understand what is the importance of legacy distribution table. Like, is it something that we are saying that it existed some time before and then don't do it again? What is the real importance here of the distribution?
Well, that's
legacy
a separate discussion. If you're proposing to remove the legacy table, that's an interesting idea.
I'm trying to see, like, when we are trying to move from active to legacy, what is the meaning of, like, what are we trying to tell the user?
That it's actively maintained. That it is actively maintained.
Then we don't need, so that does it mean then we don't need anything other than the ones which had releases in the last one, right? Like, for example, few distributions had in 1.8 and then rest all we don't need to show it in the table, right? Like if we are planning that way.
Well, so the main reason is that just because that people aren't on the latest version of Kubeflow, there's 2 problems. The first is it's kind of hard to define what being on the latest version of Kubeflow means because we don't have a conformance program. So it's kind of a self-declaration anyway. And the other issue is that it's just we had a legacy table because it was easier than outright removing the table. Also, it helps people know, right? Say you're using one of the distributions that becomes legacy, it helps people know, oh, that actually isn't supported anymore. Like I know that that isn't supported anymore. And we don't have that many distributions right now, so I agree that once we have like 1,000, it will become a problem. But it's more like it's about this page is purely for users. Like it's not aimed at it's giving information. But yeah, I agree. There should be a separate discussion if you're interested in removing the legacy table, but that's a separate discussion.
No, I'm saying, so for example, like our conversations would become much more simpler, right? Like say against 1.8, which was the last release, like we actually show ones which had releases in 1.7, like we actually show what are they and go. So it doesn't really mean either we are saying that we are interested in all the distributions that actually had releases in 1.8, 1.7, 1.6, etc. Right? And to whatever point. If you are saying like if you are just interested only in 1.8, then we just show the distributions which had releases in 1.8. So I think this mix of signals here, right? Like that's why I'm just having a doubt.
But
Like
what would that look like to the end user? Like what would that change?
So that is my question. So after these changes, it doesn't really make sense to me in a way that it is not adding any extra
So to be
value
clear,
to
there's no changes here. This you're currently saying that there's something wrong with the current website. If you go on the Kubeflow website right now, there is currently a legacy table.
Right. So like it was connected with our early AWS discussion, right? Like I was just referring to that. It doesn't add any value to me saying like I'm seeing Kubeflow on AWS in the legacy distribution, right? Because
Maybe it doesn't add value to you, but to users it really will, because most people using Kubeflow are using that top AWS distribution. And if they go to the website and see, oh, Amazon's no longer supporting it, I need to
so
move
that's a
if I want
negative
to
thing,
keep
right?
using
Like it is
Kubeflow.
basically preventing users not to try it. So I'm just saying
that's
it
the
is
goal.
adding confusion, right? Either like let's remove the legacy and then just put all the distributions which are supported in 1.8, right? That actually says
but that's not but that doesn't actively reflect what users care about. What users care about is whether they're going to get support, like whether they're on 1.8, 1.7. In the same way that Kubernetes, people are still running 122, right? Because Amazon still supports you if you pay enough money. Like like end users care about stability and support, and the number of the exact version of Kubeflow, which again is meaningless because we don't verify what users claim, what distributions claim. Like that's the thing that people want to know is, I'm adopting Kubeflow or I'm using Kubeflow. Am I still okay as a company?
So when I'm thinking about it, right, none of these are products which are actually having official support, right? Like so that's actually
no,
not.
well, so Charmed Kubeflow definitely is officially supported by Canonical. Deploy
Yes,
KF is officially supported by myself and my company. I believe Google Cloud is also.
Yeah, I think that's something that we have to confirm, because these are not, we cannot compare with the Kubernetes distribution, right? These are solutions that are provided by companies. When it is true that we say that it is active, but again, like I'm not sure whether we have to, as a community, we have to vouch for these are supported distributions, right? Which is not true. Like community.
So above it does say we don't endorse any specific distribution. So we've got the disclaimer up there for that. But
yeah, so yeah, we can have a separate discussion, but I'm saying like we are mixing many things together, right? Like we have to be first clear about like what is the final message that we have to give in community. Is it something like when someone comes to this page, they have our idea is to give that like we are actually supporting these many distributions and try it out, or someone who already has like a release in their deployment in their environment. They are seeing that, okay, like my distribution doesn't have a newer release in this cycle, so I should not try. I should actually move to a different cloud. Like like we have to be clear about like what we really want from this table. Is it just
yeah, there is a
informative?
bit of confusion there as well. 2 of the distributions support every single cloud, and the rest only support one. That is the slight confusion. So maybe we could have two separate tables, one for this is what Andre is proposing, obviously. But again, so Andre was proposing that we have a vendor specific table and a generic table, right? Is that right, Andre?
Yeah, unless we kind of ask them to make official renaming.
I mean,
like
yeah.
I think the problem is they're like kind of historically confuse users to say them how if they want to use GCP, right? They go into Kubeflow and Google Cloud, right? Kind of like the historical problem. So you think, Jono, it doesn't really matter for the user like how we like
These
frame
are solutions, right? Like to me, when I come to this, these are solutions. These are not officially supported products, from what I understand. Like Kubeflow and Deploy KF might be different, which I'm not sure about it, but I'm just saying.
Well, Canonical is
This
definitely supported,
they have
and
provided
mine is
for someone to try
as
it
well.
out. You cannot go to like a cloud saying that like you have put instructions here and then you support me, right? What users can do is actually go to a Slack channel and then ask questions, right? That's all what I can see about it from
So
like.
Are you sure about that? Like that may be the case for your company's distribution, but the others actually are on their official cloud repos, for example.
Everyone has, right? Everyone has. I'm not seeing a product page for any of these companies. I like
with the exception of DeployKF and Charmed Kubeflow, yeah. And so, like, it depends on, like, so I agree. The end user experience is bad right now. That's what we need to figure out how to solve. I don't really care how we solve it. It's just right now what happens is people go down this list until they find one that works, usually, if they're dedicated enough. So maybe the difference is, should we have a distinction, Andre, like you're saying about like commercially supported versus like best effort support? I don't know.
I think what Jonah mentioned is also right because the problem is like some of this distribution is not officially supported by the companies, right? Because we don't know if Amazon officially kind of like sell this to their customers, right? By like calling this.
Well, they did before they abandoned it, but yes.
I mean, do we know about it? Do we have do we have confidence and like have a confidence in this?
They had like 7 engineers working on it. They no longer have that.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, they have 7 engineers, but do we know if they can officially? Yeah, it's separate, right? But do like officially sell it to the AWS customers? Do we know about it?
I think the reason it was created was because Amazon customers, I'm speaking for Amazon here, I don't work for Amazon, but from my understanding is that customers would ask them about how do I do Kubeflow on EKS. And so Amazon created an official distribution, assigned resource to it, and then has subsequently unassigned that resource.
Yeah, because the thing is like it's kind of like from us the question is like, do we want to like also split it between like official support or like more kind of user help from the community to install Kubeflow on GCP, right? Because it seems like a community effort, right? It's like official support from
No, the GCP one is definitely official. Like I know that one for a fact.
Right.
No,
like only people contributing to it are Google employees.
The question is, okay, like how we define official, right? I'm saying like it is an like when a Googler is actually providing a distribution support, yes, it is official. But I'm saying that doesn't mean that they are officially supporting it through their support team, right? Like as a user, I install Kubeflow on GCP on Google Cloud. What support can I get? Right? That is different.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, all that we come back to though is that those kind of discussions are almost impossible. Like forgetting about those kind of discussions, the end user experience should be that I can go to the Kubeflow website and I can get Kubeflow installed. That should be the end result. If we can't get at least that figured out, because right now we're failing at that step, like which is new user comes to Kubeflow, they hear about it, they want to use it, they know about Kubernetes, they actually can't get it installed. This is the common story.
I completely agree there. That's why I'm saying like we have to simplify than actually making it moving to Kubeflow on AWS to legacy, etc. Right? That is also not in my opinion, that's also adding confusion. I'm saying that's not helping the same claim that you're making, right? That's the only point that I'm trying to make.
Is it not worse that someone would adopt a product that is no longer supported than?
I agree. I agree. I agree. In my opinion, both are equally confusing to me. I agree at that the current one is a problem, right? When we particularly for a user, when they are trying for first time, they are getting trying to install something and they see an error. I agree that that's a problem, but I'm saying like, what is the right thing to do, right? Maybe like against a release 1.8, we basically list the distributions that actually are that provided a release together with it, right? All the distributions that got together with it, and we decide
then we
how
end
many.
up, we originally were going to do that, but then we ended up with the problem that people take a while to do the upgrade, or that then we end up with end up with a different table. Because also, like, for example, deploykf supports 1.7 and 1.8 when it comes out. It's almost out, the release for deploykf, but it will continue to support 1.8 for users who want to keep using it.
So what's the problem with that? Like in 1.8, we say that this is just my suggestion. I'm saying people can correct me. I'm saying like in 1.8, we list all the distributions that are supporting 1.8 in one and we decide how many releases that we want to show it. And in 1.7, we showed we would have actually showed all the distributions that had supported 1.7 as well. So it's actually clear for someone basically seeing the table, they can see that in 1.8, these are the only ones. My AWS is not there, so it is up to them whether they have to do it or not, right?
I mean, that's pretty similar to just sorting the table by release version. But again, we run into the same problem, which is that it's kind of impossible to define what 1.8, 1.7 even means. Anyway, I need to go. So I think if the people who are members of the steering committee now can just agree on a wording band-aid, just to solve the initial problem of like people think that there's no. I agree, the word official is wrong. So maybe if we change that to only and remove the quotes,
Yes.
that might be acceptable.
Yes, we'll have a discussion and get back to the community regarding that. Yes.
Yeah, and then once everyone is once we kind of got a proposal, then we can just merge that if it's acceptable to you guys, and then we can talk about how to do the trademark issues. Because it's like, just I want to help new users, especially now that we're part of the CNCF. More people are looking at Kubeflow.
Yeah, I get all the points, Matthew. The other piece that I would say is, which we didn't even bring up, was lots of times enterprise wants support for old versions, very old versions, right? Support is a weird, nebulous term. And I think that you've done a great job to bring this up. I think that second PR I am more supportive of than the first one. But I think the first one does need to be addressed as well, because if AWS in particular is not being supported by AWS, if Kubeflow is not being supported by AWS, we do need a way to take care of that major part of the market, right? We need a way to get new users. So you brought up great points. The steering committee needs to make a decision. I'm glad that Janu and Andre are now here with their brain and Terry to make these decisions for us, because we need the energy, and let's get it done, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I'll remove the word official from that thing, and then you guys can make any further comments you want on it.
Perfect. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for all your patience and your efforts here. Very important.
Also, Notebooks 2.0 meeting is on Thursday, but no one's really in the meeting anymore. So yes.
Thursday at
8 a.m. Pacific. 8 a.m. Pacific.
This is the morning one. Okay.
Yeah. So we alternate.
We'll get more people. Okay. Okay. Again, thanks for that reminder as well. All right. I think that's enough for one day. Again, I didn't manage the timing, but
Hey, Josh, I might have one question. I would just like to know when is the first meeting of the KC going to happen? Or maybe Andrew or Jono, maybe you know as well.
I think the rookies are gonna have to figure that one out. Typically, we meet every Thursday, every other Thursday, which I believe this Thursday there should be a Kubeflow meeting. But we do it late in the day on Thursday, which may not work for the folks in Europe and India. So I think we're gonna have to reschedule the KSC meeting. And since we just announced everyone, a few minutes ago, we'll start a thread and we'll get that meeting set up. But definitely, Julius, we need to get that meeting scheduled and done. Whether we get it done this week like we normally do, I don't know, but I would like to see something happen rather sooner rather than later.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Anything else before we go today? Fabulous. Have a good one.